Okay, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Skaggy the Bones. I'm your host, and today I'm going to answer a question that people have been asking about the mountain bike, or about mountain bikes in general, is how do you set up your levers? Okay, so obviously, as you can see here, yeah, I have some bar ends on here. Don't use those all the time unless I'm riding on some paved roads, which I do occasionally here in Guam. We got a lot of paved roads that lead to some mountain bike trails. So once you get on the mountain bike trail, you got to go on and off them from time to time. So that's why I got the bar ends. It gives me a little bit more ability to change and do a little bit more pumping if I have to go up some hills that are paved. So got the bar ends on. Then next, as you can see here, we have our grips, and then I tend to keep my brake levers and my shifters closer to the pads out here. Now you don't have to. Some people will move them in like so. Okay, sometimes people have them like this. They'll have some, because some people, they want to be able to operate the brake levers with a single finger like so. The problem is with that I get, let's see if I can get this to show you. I'm going to loosen this bolt here, so a little bit more so. Okay, there we go. So you pull them in like this, and you operate the problem is with these brake levers are long pull, they're long finger brake levers, they're not single finger brake levers. If I was just using the new hydraulic levers and these levers were about half the size, I would have them in farther like this so I could use single finger, okay? I'd probably also have the shifters on the inside, or sorry, the outside instead of the brake levers, okay? So these brake levers, as you can see here, they kind of have a little notch here and allows me to keep my finger in here for shifting like so, okay? And if I really want to, I could probably adjust the brake lever like this, put it right there, and I'd have full access, because like I said, these brake levers are made for three fingers. Your outer three fingers, your pinky, your middle finger, or your ring finger, and then your middle finger, okay? And then your index finger is what shifts, and your thumb is what shifts, okay? So that's how that typically works. Now, the other question that always gets asked is how far down you want your, so this is kind of personal preference. You have to figure out how I want them. If I have the brake levers back here, and I have the shifters up here, if I want to shift, I'm going to have to kind of go off the pad, or sorry, off of my grips. So I don't want to come all the way over here to shift. I'm not going to shift. I keep my hands out as far as I can. It gives me the best, preferably if I have bar ends on, I would actually have my hands all the way out here. So I wouldn't want my shifters to be all the way inside where I'd have to, some people want to do thumbs like this. They want to shift here, and then they would use the downshifters. These are downshifters, like so. They use the downshifter only when they the hands aren't on the brakes. Now, at some point, I want to be able to brake and have my fingers on the downshifters at all times. So hence why I normally use longer brake levers, so that, because they'll normally have a cutout. These are actually for BMX brake levers, and so they have a little cutout here so that you can have your finger in here while you're actually pulling down on the brake lever, so you can actually keep your index finger around the grip. That's how the BMX ones are designed. Okay, so that's what I do. The other question is, and like I said, I'm going to slide these back out all the way. The other question is, how far down or up should your levers be? Slide these here. So you're always going to get, by the way, a little bit of rubbing of paint from the aluminum bar. So the big question is how far down you want your levers. Now, some people will take their shifters and they'll take their shifters and put them down like so, and the reason is they want their brakes up high for braking purposes, because they're doing downhill and they're back farther. So If you're sitting back farther on the back end of your seat and you're going back off the back end to keep the back end down and to lift up a little bit more on the front end because you're going downhill, you want your brake levers up a little bit higher, more like this, more not completely even parallel, but just bent down just a little bit. And the reason is because you don't want to be turning your wrist down like this. You actually want to have your hands back like so, okay? So if you're doing more downhill, you want your brake levers up. Obviously, this is a hardtail bike, so we're not doing downhill. Now, are we running down some trails? Yeah, but we're putting a little bit more of our weight more on the front of the bike, so we can kind of take the handle, the shifters, and we can kind of push them down a little bit. Now, you don't want them down like this. That means your hands are going to be all the way forward, unless you're over the handlebars like this. You don't want them like this because that means your hands are all the way forward. This is kind of an uncomfortable position to be in. So I recommend at the most have it so, and you can see here the Shimano levers have this little symbol here. So what you can do is you can kind of take your level, kind of put it there, and you can kind of, what I do is you can see right here where my stem is, you have where the front part of the stem comes in, you have this little line there. And I'm going to take and line using my ruler. I'm going to line that up with the tops of this little, where it says two-way release. Okay? I'm going to kind of line that up there like so. This guy level. Okay. Getting it level like this. It takes a couple seconds to actually look at it. And once you get it so that it's flat, it's not so much level, you're not worried about leveling it. You're actually just getting it flat against there, centered. And once you do that, you can kind of push these any way I want to. Now when you're sitting back all the way on the thing, you might not be able to see the actual shifting portion of it as much, but that's not what you're really concerned about anyways most of the time. You're not going to be looking at those 90% of the time. You're just going to play by feel. So once I get this set where the writing is just touching the bottom of the ruler, then I can tighten them. And what I'm going to start with is I'm going to actually start with the shifters, because the brake levers I'm going to have slammed against the shifters. Okay, so back on here. Get centered. Like so. All the way out. I want it, by the way, all the way out. The shifting lever all the way out. I'm going to take my Allen wrench, put it in there, and I'm just going to kind of start to get a little bit of a couple turns on there, just like that. Okay. Okay, so I get my turns on there and I tighten up the shifters first. Okay, so the shifters are tightened now on the one side. Now some shifters, you get into the SRAM ones and they actually have a swing arm, so you can put them on and move these around, and your brake levers you can move around without actually having to take your grips off. Those are really nice. I really like those, but that's not what we have. This is not a super expensive set of brake shifters, or sorry, of shifters, so it's not super expensive. I'm going to get these as close there as I can. They don't have to be 100% perfect, but you want them close. You want them pretty much in the same location, so you're comfortable. And I'm going to kind of keep my finger on it here on the other side now that I got them in place, because as I torque on it, it's going to tend to go one way or the other, either push up or push down as I tighten down. Okay, so now that I got the shifters tightened down, and I can torque those as well if I really want to. So now I have the shifters there, and now, and I can tweak them a little bit if I really like it. Now what I can do is I can do the brakes. Now one thing, if I like the position of my shifters, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing. Some people are like, well, I gotta have the brake levers all the way. If you notice here, I like my brake levers against my shifters, but if I really don't like, if I like the position of my shifters, because with these type of shifters, it's a lot better to have them pointed straight down, because you get a little bit more oomph when you're pushing down. This is, you're shifting up, and when you get into some of these triple cranks, really, I'll show you here, you got to really push really hard with your thumb. See that? So I have to really push hard and down pretty far, so you get a lot better leverage if this is angled in a more upright. The thumb shifter is actually angled in a more upright position. It's not so bad with these guys for the rear mech, but for the front mech it gets kind of tough. So I like those angled down a little bit more. Now, like I said, you can push the brake levers all the way down if you want. If that's not comfortable, you can bring them up just a little bit, and you can kind of go from there. And what I do is you can score a mark. What you can kind of do is push them down all the way, score a little mark right there, and use it to get to the exact same spot. Even put maybe a little bit of marker or grease pencil on there, and then you can kind of adjust these to the exact position you want. Like I said, they don't have to be exactly slammed against the handlebars. That's kind of up to you how you want to do it. I'm sorry, not against the handlebars, I meant against these shifters. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. But I like the looks of it that way, but it's not always comfortable for shifting, for braking. So this is a little uncomfortable for me because I'm not going to be over the handlebars, and I don't want to be rolling my wrists like this. This is comfortable for shifting. It's not really, see, for me, even for shifting, yep, this is perfect for shifting. It's not comfortable for braking. So I'm going to pull the brake levers up just a little bit. As you can see here, pulling them up just a tiny bit. I still want them curved down a little bit because I'm going to be riding over the handlebars just a tad. So I'm going to take these and push them up just a little bit here. Now, one thing you can do if you want to is there is this little tension screw on these for the mechanical disc brakes at least. So what you can do is there is a little line, there's a little cut in them so that when you change out the brake cable, you can kind of pull up the brake cable through the tension screw. So if you line the tension screw up, there's also a lever adjustment screw here. So if you line the cut into the tension adjusters with that screw, okay, what it will allow you to do, this is just a little trick, instead of marking, actually putting a mark on the brake lever handle itself, what you can do is you can kind of poke your head back a little bit, move back to the position where you'd be riding on the bike, and you can use that little line or the little opening in the tension adjuster to align it with your handlebars. So I'm going to do that. That's going to bring them up just a little bit, not too much. I can kind of align them together on the same spot on the handlebars. Okay, and that's pretty much perfect. So now I'm going to take, I'm going to have to get my longer Allen. So my longer or my short Allen isn't going to reach. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to grab our 5mm Allen here. Head, key, and we'll look at this again just to kind of make sure that the left and the right are at the same level. I'm going to tighten it just a little bit at a time, checking the level. Now, some of them you might have to actually take and shift it. Push the shift lever in just a tiny bit, as I'm doing here. So those are even at least. Now, how comfortable it's going to be, I'm not sure just yet. I kind of do that, I shift down. And once I get it in to the tightness I want, I'm kind of, while holding this downshift in, I can kind of push here and get this tight. I don't really want my brake levers to be bouncing around. Now, there is a lot of debate on the tightness of brake levers and of the shifters. Some people want them loose so that if you get in an accident, they will kind of flip up and they won't damage the levers, because what could happen if you get in an accident, you can actually physically damage the levers. But kind of at this angle with the bar ends on them, the probability of you actually damaging them is probably pretty slim. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. That in there, working down these lines. I just don't like my levers to be jumping all over the place. Okay, so now, as you can see, we got our brake levers readjusted to how I like them. Okay, or what's going to be more comfortable for me in this riding position. And then as you can see, when I have my hands on them, with these type of levers, now normally this isn't the case because most people are riding with hydraulic disc brakes and they got short levers. So they're single finger levers. These are 3-finger levers. So what you do is you have your index finger in here. You can see here, just the camera out just a little bit here. There we go. So, okay, so you have your index. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so what you want to do is you have your index finger is on your downshift lever, your thumb is on the upshift lever, and then your 3 fingers remain planted on the brake levers. And because there's this little cutout in the inner part of the brake lever, that's where it allows your fingers to remain on the grips or on the shifters. So I just always keep my fingers, both fingers, on the shifters at the same time. Some people don't like to do that because they feel if they bump the both downshift and upshift, it's physically impossible to do that at the same time because you can't do it. You get a misshift more than you get anything else, but you can't physically do both at the same time. And if your hands bounce on the levers, you're gonna misshift anyways as long as if you don't have a good enough grip. So I keep kind of my hands like this. That keeps a good grip. Some people want to keep their hands like this, and then they shift only when needed. They don't keep their fingers on the shifters. But I like to have very quick shifting, so I always keep my fingers on the shift levers. Some people say that's not a good habit to get into, but that's just the style of riding I do, simply because I'm used to riding road bikes a lot. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully this answers some of the questions about positioning. Like I said, being a hardtail bike, we can have our levers down a little bit farther because your Your weight's more on the front of the bike than it is on the back of the bike. So it allows you to be a little bit more over the handlebars and have a little bit more aggressive forward position than having a more aggressive back position. So hopefully, like I said, that answers some of your questions. Hopefully you guys get some good information about how to set up your levers. Of course, it's all preferential, but it's good to know how to do that, or what some of the best ways to do it is. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button below. Like always, give us a thumbs up if you like it, put a comment in the comment section below, and as always, keep riding.